Thank you to the American-Hellenic Chamber of Commerce, especially CMOS and LIS, for having both the courage and the wisdom to organize the opening discussion of this 26th Annual Greek Economy Conference on the topic of Greek debt, accelerating the turnaround of the Greek government finances. As you know, I am often in Greece as we have a large long-term investment here. However, my schedule has me en route at this moment, so I'm providing my comments via this video. My comments will directly address the organizer's vision, as the title of my comments, as you'll see on the screen, are How to Accelerate the Turnaround for the Greece Government Finances by Asking the Right Question. To repeat, how do you accelerate the turnaround of the Greece government finances by asking the right question? For almost the past 4 years, we have studied the Greece government finances and the finances of other governments. Our focus has been on how professional management of complex organizations, large complex organizations, can create value for the entire Greek nation. As a result of our work, there are 3 things you should know. 3 very straightforward discoveries, which I will detail in my comments. And also, they will provide the background material for the roundtable to follow. Discovery number 1, you can help accelerate the turnaround of Greek government finances by asking the right question. Discovery number 2, Greece government debt is a huge competitive advantage, not a suffocating debt mountain. Repeat, Greece government debt is a huge competitive advantage, not a suffocating debt mountain. And discovery number 3, the Greek government is a classic financial turnaround. Hopefully, each of you have a copy of my slides at your table. If not, you can find the materials at www.mostimportantreform.info. Let's now go into detail on the number 1 discovery, which is you can help accelerate the turnaround of Greece government finances by asking the right question. The right question is, what is the present value of Greece government net debt compared to other European countries? And I will repeat this given its importance. What is the present value of Greece government net debt compared to other European countries? The answer you will see is 22%. And here's the question in Greek. The answer is the same, 22%. You can see it on page 5 in your slides. Let's move to discovery number 2. Greece government debt is a huge competitive advantage, not a suffocating debt mountain. There are several frameworks to measure debt. The first 4 we will discuss: present value of net debt, annual net debt service, interest payments, and debt relief. Each of these 4 provide a similar answer. The last is called future face value of debt, which for Greece provides a highly misleading number. As a starting point, it's essential to understand that there are international rules to measure Greece debt and debt relief, and they are harmonized. Yes, there are international rules that fall into 2 groups. The macroeconomic rules that are designed for use in macroeconomic policy, as the name indicates. And the second group is the international accounting rules, known as standards, which are used in both the public and private sector to improve decision-making and for performance assessment. As a little background, the macroeconomic rules, there are 2. And understand that these were produced under the joint responsibility of the EC, the IMF, the OECD, the UN, and the World Bank. And the European rules were passed by the EU Parliament with the force of law. Under the accounting, there's only one for the public sector, which is Ipsos, and only one for the international companies, which is IFRS. And again, you could also use the US standard. These are all harmonized. There are rules. Very simply, applying the rules to Greece debt, the present value, called PV for short, of net debt as a percentage of GDP was 22% of peers, as you'll see in the red dot on the slide. This is a huge competitive advantage. You can also look at Greece debt as net debt service, which is interest expense and principal payments less rebates and deferrals, adjusted for financial assets. This is also slightly below 22% of peers, as indicated on the slide. The third way to look at this is cash interest payments. Greece is approximately 22% of peers, as you see on the chart, with regard to cash interest. The fourth measure is debt relief. Here, if you assess the third program, what you will see is that of the 86 billion third program, the debt relief component is of approximately 64.6 billion, which is a remaining debt of approximately 22%. It's important to focus on here that when the funding occurs on the third program, given the terms, the concessional terms of the loan, such as very low interest rates and extended maturities, under international rules, whether they're macro rules or accounting standards, there is debt relief on the funding. Repeat, when the funds arrive, given the terms under any of the macroeconomic or international rules, there is debt relief. And the debt relief in this case is approximately 78% of the debt. This is undeniable. That is when the debt relief occurs. The fifth way to measure is associated with a destructive obsession with the politically symbolic Greece nonsense future face value of debt and debt relief numbers. The logic behind using this nonsense future face value of number is associated with the Greeks is a victim of the 300 billion plus debt mountain, or that this nonsense future face value number is the cause of the current Greek problems, is the mountain of debt, and it prevents prosperity. Or that more debt relief of the debt mountain is the holy chalice. This nonsense future face value of restructured and concessional debts is a senseless number. It breaks both international macroeconomics and accounting rules. It ignores the time value impact of money. It ignores interest rates, maturities, repayment provisions, and market realities. It would value 1,000 euros paid in 100 years, earning no interest, is worth 1,000 today. This is nonsense. It can be found in undeveloped guidelines or in unilateral lender covenants. Recent examples of comments on correctly assessing Greece government debt using present value or debt service and not face value have become increasingly abundant. They include the major international accounting authorities. It includes Harvard Business School case studies. It includes leading think tanks, as you see on the chart. It includes apolitical economists and historians. It includes actually the German Chancellor Angela Merkel or the Deputy Finance Minister Jens Spahn. It also includes the Eurogroup President. It includes the ESM Director. And it also includes the IMF and their DSA in June of 2015. Let's move to the third discovery. The Greece government is a classic financial turnaround. Why do we say this? A, there's a 15-year track record, which is as far back as we went, and we could have gone obviously much further, but a 15-year track record of management-induced financial underperformance. And B, there is low-hanging fruit that could create 50 billion in value. A, again, a 15-year track record of management-induced financial underperformance. As you'll notice in this very important chart, which measures the change in Greece GDP as a percentage of the change in debt added at the government level, what you will see is Greece has created only 10 cents in GDP value for each euro of a government added in debt. This is equal to 90 cents in value destruction. This is vastly lower than the peers. And in fact, in the forecasts for Greece, currently the number goes even lower at 1% versus projected for peers at 223%. This is value destruction. Greece GDP per capita has declined from 192% of the average of EU bottom half countries to only 119%. You can also look at real GDP. You have to understand that real GDP for Greece has declined 7% from 2001 to 2015, while the EU average has increased 32%. Again, under the management practices for the past 15 years, Greece's real GDP has declined 7%. During the same management-induced underperformance period, the Greece government has overspent, on average, 120% of government revenue in each year since 2001. Again, they've overspent revenue by, on average, 120% every year. This is obviously unsustainable. As this slide illustrates, the value destroyed, as we've seen in the GDP, and the annual overspending, which we've seen, would be even worse if adjusted for the 100+ billion in debt avoided through EU net grants. And to put this in further context, the perspective of additional debt relief, you need to realize that Greece has received 400+ billion in debt relief and forgiveness, and that is almost 25 times the average of EU program countries. And the B, as to why we say Greece is a classic financial turnaround, is that there's low-hanging fruit that could create 50 billion in value. Let's start by looking at the public administration that is without turnaround management experience. 1, Greece is yet to use the rules to educate that Greece has a huge competitive debt advantage, not a debt mountain. 2, Greece has no financial statements, not even a balance sheet, and cannot measure its change in net worth. 3, Greece still uses single-entry cash accounting systems. 4, Greece has no turnaround managers. 5, to state the obvious, for those who have ever managed, you cannot successfully manage what is not accurately measured. The low-hanging fruit for a 5-star turnaround management starts with education. You need to use the rules to educate the world why Greece debt is a huge competitive advantage at 22% of peers. And you need to stop playing the destitute victim. 2, you need to build confidence by showing the financial statements of the government are being accurately reported and used in decision making. 3, you can create 50 billion in value for all Greece through professional management processes. The opportunities to create 50 billion in value from 2015 to 2017 include the first, lowering the sky-high borrowing costs for everyone. 2, increase government deeply depressed asset values. 3, significantly increase FDI. 4, renew optimism in the local equity markets. And 5, increase real estate values to reduce the NPLs. And to put the real estate in context, the real estate collateral values increase in excess of 50% when the Greek government bond yields, also known as GGBs, decline, pushing down the investor required returns on the real estate. We've provided a simplified example which uses basic required returns on cap rates as they're known. And as you'll see in the chart, the relationship between the decline in the cap rate, or borrowing investor returns, directly results in an increase in an asset value, which is the smartest way to reduce NPLs. And if there's one takeaway, the takeaway is point number one. You can help accelerate the turnaround of Greece. You can help accelerate the turnaround of Greece government finances by asking the right question. So the question starts off with 10 simple words. What is the present value of Greece government net debt? You can say it in one breath. What is the present value of Greece government net debt? And then you can ask, compared to other European countries. Again, don't be afraid to ask. It's a simple question. What is the present value of Greece net debt? And then say, compared to other European countries. You should ask the person next to you. You should ask the government officials you meet. You should ask other business people. You should ask your friends. You should ask your families. What is the present value of Greece government net debt? This will start and accelerate the turnaround of Greece. And the answer, remember the answer, it's 22%. 22%. For additional reading on the topic, go to slide 31, and you will see a list of suggested readings. You'll also see at the bottom the website, mostimportantreform.info. And now we're going to move to the roundtable discussion. The topic of the roundtable discussion is how to accelerate the turnaround of the Greece government finances by asking the right question. And we've challenged the panelists who have received the material to question the material that we've provided. And we also challenged the audience as well to ask the questions. Thank you and good luck in asking the right question. And remember, the answer is 22%. It's a huge competitive advantage.